Hello, and welcome to the Identity and Access Management Insights podcast by Integral Partners. We're a cybersecurity consulting firm that's focused exclusively on IAM, and that's what we'll talk about here. All right, so welcome to the podcast. Today I am talking with David Morimanno, or DJ as we call him. DJ is a senior manager on our advisory services team, and he's going to talk about some of his highlights and key takeaways from the 2022 Gartner IAM Summit our team sponsored and attended in August. So take it away, DJ.
My name's David Morimanno. After attending Gartner IAM this year, there were a few standouts and takeaways that I just wanted to highlight. So one of the major things that came out of the Gartner conference was obviously the new up and coming things, the things that are changing, the ways that vendors are looking at investing in this particular industry. But also there were a series of things that remain the same. There are some things that are just baked in that are good to know, good to understand, and Gartner recognizes that there's just a good foundation with a few key areas. Don't see a lot of involvement, mostly because those areas are relatively mature. One of those being the threat detection and response. Gartner has put out this model for many, many years. There has been no modifications for the most part to this model. It's a sound model where we discover, inspect, analyze, do policy evaluation, do incident management and remediation, and that wheel continues to turn. Obviously, IGA, access management, privileged access management, and in particular, ITSMs play a very heavy role in this particular model. That being said, there's also many things that are changing, or at least focuses are shifting. There are many new areas, new terms that are coming into the space. The ones that stood out the absolute most were around Active Directory defense, decentralization of identity, passwordless authentication, which was a very hot button item, and then cloud infrastructure entitlements management. Passwordless authentication was one of the largest ones, if you look at the graph, as well as one of the items that needs to happen now. They're saying, don't wait on it. This is happening right now and needs to happen right now. One of the other items that's a little further out, but it's one that they stressed very heavily needs to be focused on, is around cloud's entitlement management. And that's one that's a little bit more difficult to understand. So I wanted to give a little bit more of a breakdown. So CIEM, Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management, is at its core a practice to manage, administer, and control entitlements within a cloud infrastructure. The largest infrastructures that are out there right now, their largest providers, obviously Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, as well as AWS. Now, there are features and functions within identity solutions today that start to dip their toes in this realm, in particular within PAM and IGA. But there's also a heavier need, a bigger need that we need to make a larger investment in this realm. Everything's going cloud. Clients are pushing cloud. Everyone's looking at how to manage cloud. And there is a gap between the full capabilities of the tools today versus what's really needed to control that realm. And Gartner warns that if left unchecked, or at least left without a sound strategy, this could become, in the next few years, a major, major issue for the industry. Again, there are vendors that have bleed over. There are vendors that do take a swing at helping with this particular realm, CIEM, but there's still a long ways to go. There's still quite a few vendors that need to up their game, need to bring in a heavier emphasis, a bigger investment, and a more strategic look at how CIEM integrates with the identity solutions that are provided, as well as how clients should be able to look at the overall identity spectrum and see how cloud plays a role in their strategy. One of the other items that was very heavily emphasized when it comes to Gartner's perspective of IAM maturity, strategy is still king. Develop a vision, develop a strategy, and you can build everything off of that. If you go into it and start to tackle areas such as access management, managing privileged access, try to measure functional performance, all these other items that other folks find very important, as well as Gartner says that these are areas of need when it comes to maturing. At the very core, strategy is still the foundation. So if you look at the overall maturity versus the importance, you can see that each of those items go kind of hand in hand, where the overall importance is higher than the current level maturity. And if we could raise that level of maturity to be able to at least match the level of importance, as a whole, the industry would be doing much better. But that being said, we need a sound strategy. We need a sound vision, and we need to be able to step in and set a good foundation for all of these items to mature. So Gartner recommends to follow and adopt an IAM framework. And the reality is this is a never-ending cycle. This is something that you need to make sure you start with. You have a good solid foundation, you can build on it. But like everyone knows that works within this space, is it's never ending. Things are changing, the industry's changing, the needs within your organization are changing. So we have to continually come back to that well, go back to the drawing board on a few things and revisit where we are from a maturity perspective, a functionality perspective, and where we need to go through that process, try to evolve our program, and then when we've gotten to where we said we were going to go, we're going to revisit. So if you think about this from a privileged access management perspective, or an IGA perspective, or an access management perspective, the same is true across the board. Start with a solid foundation, learn where you are from a maturity perspective, learn where you are and what you need to do from a functionality perspective, go forth and achieve that, and then come back and replan, re-strategize, stay on top of your vision, realign as needed. And this is something that we do at Integral Partners quite often. As we come in to the organization, we look at where you are, we kind of lay out that initial plan and get you started down that journey. But then we would like to come back. We would like to see what was been accomplished, how far you've gotten, what worked, what lessons learned, what's not working, and realign, not only from a strategic perspective internally, but a realignment of where the industry is moving, because it changes every year. There's new functions, new features, new protocols, best practices, and we can help stay on top of that. So all that being said, you need to know where to start from. Gartner heavily recommends that you perform an assessment, not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Start with an assessment to know how far you need to go. Learn where your maturity currently is, learn how far you need to go, and then reassess. Again, if you go back to that framework, you're going to plan, you're going to build, then you're going to run. And every time you get back to plan, you need to reevaluate where you are, how far you've come, and what you still need to do. So a lot of folks will have an assessment once a year. Maybe you have an assessment more often. You need to know what you can take advantage of and what you're spending cycles on that's not giving you that return on investment. So same as every year, privileged access management is a key highlight that Gartner puts forward. It's finding its way into new areas as organizations grow and organizations move into the cloud, develop new practices for DevOps, IoT, et cetera. And it's something that we need to keep our hands around. It's something that we continually need to improve along with where privilege is going. We need to go as well. When we look at the problems facing privileged access or the controlling of privileged access, they're all still the same issues. We still have populations of people accounts. We still have the same populations of machine accounts, but those populations are getting larger. They're getting more widespread. They're migrating from one area of the organization to another area. And the same issues still are present within every PAM program is how do we get to the low-hanging fruit? How do we analyze the accounts of risk? How do we get to the point where we can potentially create just-in-time access? How can we share accounts? All of these things are not new issues. The new problem that is being presented is the PAM solutions, the PAM programs, the PAM security controls are being outpaced by the growth of privileged access itself. That being said, there's a need to evolve the tool sets. There's a need to evolve privileged access management methodologies. There's a need to evolve privileged access management programs and governance. For many, many years, we've looked at things very much on a traditional spectrum. Privileged account session management. We've looked at things as far as just getting the account into a secure location, rotating the password, controlling who accesses it. When they do access something with it, record that session, control that session. We then migrated into privileged elevation and delegation management. We all know that there shouldn't be resting local administration access on endpoints, on devices, on servers. So endpoint management comes into play. Well, that's all good and that's fine, but now we've got DevOps that's heating up even more than it ever has. Now we've got the cloud that's growing faster than it's ever grown. We've got these new environments that privileged access management needs to tackle and needs to be aware of, and we need to be able to control. So in comes adjacent technologies, in comes adjacent protocols and mindsets that sit on top of core capabilities within a PAM solution or PAM program. Most of those are going to be somewhat new to the environment. Most of those are going to be new methodologies, new processes to manage secrets or keys in a true real-time fashion, where we can move to an environment where access is no longer resting. We move to a ZSP or zero standing privilege model, that when the access is needed, it's created. When it's no longer needed, it's deprecated. No more having the access set and rest and then someone checking it in, checking it out. It should not exist if it's not being used. I know a lot of cases that may not be feasible, but within secrets management, there's no reason why we couldn't get there with some of what's in our environment. Cloud infrastructure entitlement management, like we talked about earlier, it's an area that's continually growing. Privileged access management is a great place to start getting your hands around controls within infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Wherever your organization is moving into with the cloud, it doesn't matter if it's Azure, GCP, or AWS, PAM can sit there adjacently to your core PAM program and functions and features and be able to tackle that and be able to look at things from another lens and give you more to look at, more to take in, more to consider. One perspective that's coming in that is a little bit different, I don't think it's surprising, but ITSMs such as ServiceNow, which is obviously the big one in the space, are becoming more and more prevalent in all areas of the organization from an IT perspective. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer to say that your ITSM is where you do your change management. It's where you do your ticketing. It's where you do your requests. It's where you maybe validate access. Let's now pull in the rest of identity and access management into the ITSM and control it centrally. Gartner sees that this is becoming more and more prevalent. This is something that CISOs and CIOs want. They want a one-stop shop. They want to have a view of things, although again, may not be feasible with the technologies available to have a full-featured IGA solution or full-featured access management solution baked into your ITSM. A lot of integrations and partnerships will ITSMs have with the current mainstay vendors to make a lot of this happen, but the tides are shifting.
All right, well, DJ, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody who is listening. And again, if you have any questions, if you're interested in maybe getting some of these activities done for yourself, or you just want to dig in a little bit more and talk to an expert like DJ or some of the other members of the team, we're happy to set up a call for you. So just reach out on the website and we'll be happy to set that up. So again, thanks, DJ. You have a great day and we'll talk soon.